And this is the book, Mrs. Kaputnik's Pull Paul and Matzo Ball Emporium, which is kind of a long and silly name for a book, but I'm going to tell you how it got started. So it all started with a matzo ball, because one year when at for Pesach at the Seder, I usually my matzo balls come out nice and soft and kind of squishy. That's the way I like them. But one year something went wrong and it came out so hard that they were just like rocks sitting in the bottom of the soup bowl. And when my daughter went to cut into her matzo ball, can you imagine, it actually jumped out of the soup bowl and it rolled across the table. And we just sat there and we laughed and we laughed and we laughed. So when my kids were young, instead of reading them bedtime stories, I had three children. There's four in this picture, but I had three, have three. They're not, they're all grown up now. We used to go upstairs and they would sit around in a circle every night and I would make up stories. And I would tell them stories, and the stories we would do fractured fairy tales and just silly stories. So after my matzo ball bounced across the table, I started making up stories about this ancestor who lived in Russia who made really awful matzo balls. Okay. And so I made up a story about the matzo balls. And okay, what I needed to say is, how did they get so hard and what happened? And originally I started telling the story, oh, her matzo balls were so hard. They used them to fight off Cossacks, and they used them for cannons, and they used them for this and that. So then I went back. So I made up a story about this woman. Her name was Mrs. Kaputnik, and she was a terrible cook. And the only thing she knew how to make that was really good was her matzo balls. But then one day something went wrong and they came out like rocks. What went wrong? Well, that day, her son Moshe and her daughter Shosi, for Shoshana, had gone into the forest to collect. They lived in Russia, and they went to the forest to collect mushrooms. And they found this giant egg and they brought it home. Okay. And you can see that the egg is just about to hatch. But what happened is it hatched into a dragon. And they named the dragon Snigger, because that's the way the dragon sounded. When they started tickling it, it went snig. So the kids named the dragon Snigger. And this is how the story just kept growing and growing. And when Snigger burned the matzo balls, his fire burnt the matzo balls. So the kids want to know what happened next. Well, what happened next is that the village was attacked by Cossacks who used to come sometimes and attack villagers. And everybody was so scared. But Shoshi and Moshe picked up the rock hard matzo balls and threw them at the attackers, and they knocked them all out. And when the children went to the attackers, they found these gold coins in their pockets. And by this time, the people in the village were getting really tired of them. So the rabbi came in and said, you know what? Take the coins and use them to go to America. And that's what they did. And that's really where the story started. Okay, when they got there, Mrs. Kaputnik ended up opening a restaurant where she made matzo balls, but they brought Snigger with them on the ship, and that's another whole part of the story. And in her restaurant, Snigger cooked the matzo balls by dragon fire. So you can imagine people wanted to come to this restaurant. And people came in and they found all kinds of uses for these matzo balls. Like lots of other stuff happened. Like when this baseball player, Dingle Hingelhofer, whose team had never won a game, discovered her matzo balls, he decided to use it as a baseball. And his team started winning games. And from there, the story just grew and grew and grew until it finally became a book. Now, what happened is my children, when they grew up, said, you know, Mom, you're writing books now, and we love those Kaputnik stories, and we think you should turn it into a book. Well, writing a book is harder than just telling stories because you need a lot more details. But I did finally put all the stories together and made up new characters, and it became the book. And I'm going to end my presentation by saying, what's your story? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I'm going to read. Okay, let's stop the screen share right now. I'm just going to read to you from Mrs. Kaputnik what happened when the children brought the dragon Snigger home. Okay? Shoshi and Moshe stared in horror at the animal emerging from its shell. It was dark green with yellow eyes, wings, and a long, spiky tail. It curled into a ball at Shoshi's feet and licked bits of eggshell from its skin with a forked red tongue. What is it, Shoshi? I don't know. Moshe bent down to get a closer look. It's not a chicken. Shoshi squatted beside her brother. Look, he touched the wing. They were like flaps on both sides of its body. Maybe it's a bird. The animal lifted its head and flicked its tongue. Sparks flew out of its mouth. It's on fire. Moshe studied the animal. That's how it breathes. His fear turned to fascination. It isn't a chicken, and it's certainly not a bird. Shoshi knelt down and stroked the animal. It licked her hand. It tickles, she laughed. Look, Moshe, its skin is as dimpled as the outside of Mama's matzo balls. Matzo balls? Uh-oh, I forgot about them. Moshe dashed across the room, grabbed the pot from the stove, and plunked it onto the dirt floor. We're in trouble. All the water boiled out, and they're like rocks. Mama really is going to kill you. She won't have anything to take to Aunt Rachel's for the Seder. It's all because of you and this thing. Everyone in the town knew Mrs. Kaputnik was a terrible cook. While other women produced golden loaves of challah bread and sponge cakes so light they would float on water, their mother's bread was like bricks, and her cake could break a plate. But her matzo balls, the ones she made every Passover, were soft as clouds. The animal uncurled a whip-like tail, lifted its head, and breathed out a stream of sparks. Look, you scared it, Moshe said. I scared it? Moshe scooped the animal into his palm and lifted it in the air. There, don't be afraid of Shoshi. She just likes to act mean, but I'm used to her. Soon you will be too. Shoshi giggled. I guess it's cute for a dybbuk. Snigger, snigger. That's what I'll call you. Snigger, said Shoshi. The animal jumped from Moshe's hands to the top of the oven. Stretching to its full length, it draped its claws over the edge. Snig, snig, snigger, it said, and lowering its head promptly fell asleep. Okay, I'm going to skip a little bit now because their mother comes home and she says, crazy children, such a creature you bring into my house and before Passover. Beg us to keep him? Huh, Shoshi muttered. Leave it to me. Moshe tucked his thumbs under his suspenders. Mama, Snigger is special. No one else in the town has a pet like him. And why would they? He's a snake, she screamed as Snigger wiggled across the floor. I'm going to Aunt Rachel's to tell her we won't have matzo balls for the Seder. About the monster, I won't say a word, but get rid of it before I get back. Okay. Sundown and Passover were an hour away. Shoshi swept the last bits of dust from the house and the street and shook out her apron. Moshe had gone to the well, and her mother was still at Aunt Rachel's. Nigger was hidden under the bed. The thunder of horses' hoofs shattered the silence. Cossacks! Moshe dashed into the house, his eyes wide with terror. Soldiers! Shoshi ran outside and saw a dust cloud rolling up the street. Get back in the house. Mrs. Kaputnik grabbed her daughter, shoved her inside, and slammed the door. It's a pogrom. Quick, hide behind the stove. Before they could move, two bearded men burst into the room. They wore tall fur hats, dark green tunics that were belted at the waist, and high black leather boots. Each carried a sword. Moshe ran behind his mother and clutched her skirt. Shoshi, over here. Mrs. Kaputnik reached for her daughter, but one of the Cossacks grabbed Shoshi's braids, pulling her toward the door. Shoshi struggled, but the man's grip was like iron. Help me, she called out. She tried to kick him, but her feet just scratched the surface of his boots. Roar! Shoshi ducked as a green body hurtled at her abductor's head. Sparks filled the air. Yeah! The man dropped her and slapped at his burning beard. He ran to the water bucket and dunked his head. Snigger set fire to the seat of his pants. Then Snigger jumped on the older soldier, wrapping his tail around the man's neck. Kill that monster, shouted the first Cossack as he rolled on the floor. He leapt to his feet, lifted his sword, and brought it down with a whoosh. But instead of striking Snigger, he sliced his partner's ear. The man roared with pain. Enraged, the first Cossack aimed his sword at Shoshi and lunged when something hard struck his temple, and he tripped and fell flat on his face. He got to his feet only to fall again as another matzo ball knocked him out. And from there on, the story just goes on because, like I said, the kids find the coins and they say, well, we'll give them to the rabbi and he can tell us what to do with them. What the rabbi told them to do with the coins was use the money to go to America. We don't want you and your crazy children and your little green, whatever that monster is in town. And from there on, I took the story how they went on a great big ship and had to hide Snigger because, people on a ship really aren't too friendly to dragons and all the crazy adventures they got into. And like I said, these stories started as stories I told my children, and they kept adding to them too and making up characters, and it became a whole family thing that we did every night. And then when I had to write the book, I had to make up more stories. Now, part of the story is that their father had gone to America 5 years before, like many men did in those days. And that's what had happened to my family. My grandfather went to America to get settled and then bring over my father and his family. So I had the father do that. But in this case, in my book, father disappeared and they want to go to America to find the father. And that becomes a whole mystery. So that's how the book goes. I don't want to tell you the whole story because you can get this book in the library. And I hope you'll read it because it's a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun to write. But what I want to know is what kind of stories you want to tell? Because remember, I ended my PowerPoint with saying, and what's your story? Do you have stories that your family tells each other? Do you have stories you want to make up? Anybody? Yeah, I see. Unmute yourself, Casey.
I have
What
a
story do
story.
you want to tell? Or what kind of stories does your family tell?
Well, I only tell stories,
What kind? Can you tell us what
but
kind of stories you like to tell?
I make up my own stories,
What? Tell us
and
what. Yeah.
and it's lots and lots about dinosaurs and stuff
Okay.
in space, also of aliens.
Aliens. Wow. What happens to the aliens when they come here?
Um, Lots of people they just maybe try and climb up trees, and then but the aliens try and get them, and they talk like this: meat moat mat, meat moat, meat mat, and they're just so funny.
Wow, that sounds really good. Do you, maybe when you get older, you'll write the stories down and turn them into a book. Do you think you might like to do that?
But when I grow up, I want to be an artist and a vet.
An artist and a vet? Wow, that's fabulous. What kind of animals do you like best?
Bunnies, birdies, and kitties.
Oh, you'll make a great vet. Do you think you might write stories about the animals
But
or draw them? You
first,
want to be,
I got to get used to dogs because I don't
okay.
like dogs. I might. Did you know my mommy is a writer?
Is she? What did she
Yeah,
write? What?
she writes stories.
Oh, that's terrific. And does she tell you stories?
She's a travel
She's a travel writer.
She's a what?
She's a travel writer.
She's a travel writer. That must be a lot of fun. Good. Who else has stories that they like to tell? Ethan? Is Ethan there? Oh, I see. Yael, you've got your hand up. Okay, and then we'll go to Ethan. Unmute yourself, Yael. Okay. What kind of stories do you like?
Well, I've typed a few on the computer about these two monkeys and their brother and sister, and then some really funny things happened to them.
Can you tell us what kind of funny things?
Yeah, so one of the story, well, yeah, I only wrote one story about them, but the one that I wrote, so the two monkeys were dressing up as king and queens, and then they went outside to swing on a tree, and then they swang so much, and by the time they were done swinging, they fell asleep when swinging on the tree.
Oh my goodness, that sounds like fun. And you typed that story on the computer?
Yeah.
Good, good. Do you have any other stories or other ideas you'd like to write?
Well, yeah, because I started writing another story called The Lost Puppy with the same two monkeys.
Oh,
They were
okay.
going shopping, but then on the way when they were walking, they found a puppy. But then I haven't written more than that yet.
That's okay. You know, writers, when we're writing books, we don't just sit down and write the whole book. It takes a long time. And sometimes you write something and then you put it away and you go back to it. And lots of times I just throw it out and go, oh, I don't really like that. And I start over. But, you know, it takes time to figure out the story and where it's going to go and who all the characters are. So that's really good. You can put it away and you can go back to it anytime. Do you like to read?
Yeah,
Okay,
I have a lot of books.
my phone's ringing, but ignore it. Okay, that's great. Who else has a story that they want to share? Ethan, did you say? I can't see you. All I see is the robot. But do you have a story for us?
Eitan, right? I'm sure you have a
Eitan.
fun story to share with everyone.
I don't know.
Okay. What about Eva?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Would you like to hear more of Mrs. Kaputnik? Do you want me to read a little more? You want to know what
Another
happened?
thing we could do, Rona, is
Yeah.
we could use this time to maybe all create a little story together about a character you guys want to make up. Because
That's a
Rona
great
made
idea.
that super fun character of Snigger, and it was super creative, and she used her imagination and made up this whole crazy animal. Do you guys want to work together to create a new character all together, and we could draw it together and figure out what it looks like and make his story?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Casey's ready.
Okay,
Gail's ready. Eva's ready. Okay.
so are you going to start us off, Ellie, with the character, or will somebody start us off with the character?
Okay. Well, oh, Casey is really good at making up characters, so I think Casey's going to start us off.
Yeah, you've got
I'm
your
gonna color
hand up.
along.
Unmute.
We're gonna do a witch.
A witch. Okay.
Okay.
So tell us about your witch.
Once I drew a witch that was actually in a dark place. There was a zombie coming out of a house, and there was a ghost.
Whoa.
Oh,
This sounds like a
Okay.
scary, scary situation.
okay. So you've got a witch and a zombie coming out of the house?
Yeah.
Who wants to, do you want to tell us what happens next, or should maybe Yael tell us what happens next? What happens after the zombie and the witch come out of the house? Yael? You have to unmute.
So then the witch notices the zombie, and she doesn't like zombies. So she gets her book of spells and then casts a spell to make the zombie go away.
Oh, that's really good. What kind of a spell? Can you make up the spell for us? What words would she use in the spell? They can be made up words.
No, she needs to find the ingredients.
Oh, I see. Do you have any idea what those ingredients would be? Think
yeah,
about it. What are the ingredients?
2 drops of water, a stick from a lollipop, and a gingerbread eye.
Oh, can you draw? Are you going to draw that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody want to take the story from there? I see we have some people on that I can't see. Emmett and Jordana. Are you guys there? I don't know if they're there or not. Okay, so who wants to take the
I
story?
don't know.
Do you want to continue with the story, yeah?
Eva, do you want to continue the story?
Yeah, Eva?
No. Okay.
No.
Casey, did you want to continue? Your hand was up.
You continue the story.
And so there's a zombie coming out of the house. And did you know Emmett? He's on the screen, and that's my baby brother.
Oh,
Okay.
and then what happens?
And then in that story, there's a ghost,
Casey, focus on what you're saying.
and then I'm going to do more zombies standing.
Can someone tell me what the zombie looks like?
So they're walking and saying, "Spring, spring, spring."
Oh, that's a pretty good zombie.
They are wearing scrap clothes, and they're all green.
Green zombies. Okay.
And they're
Yeah,
supposed
go
to
ahead.
be green. They're supposed to be green.
Do you have any idea why the zombie would be green? Does he eat lots of pickles and lettuce and things?
Oh, they just came onto this earth just green because they're supposed to be like that.
Oh, okay.
That's what real zombies look like.
I like that. That totally
That's all we
makes
need to know.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you
Yeah,
think?
Elle, how's our
about-
illustration of the story going?
Yeah, can we see what's going, what you're drawing?
Oh,
Hold it by the camera, yeah. Oh, okay,
Oh, she's making the potion.
yeah.
Yeah.
What have you been drawing, Casey? Eva, do you have a drawing? Let's see, hold it up so we can see it.
That's just working very hard right now.
Yes, that's great.
Would you guys like to finish coloring your characters while Rona reads us another little snippet of her book, and then at the end you can show off all of your art?
What a
Okay.
great idea. I'm gonna read you the part. Let's see. So they- All right, wait. I marked it and I've just got to find. Okay, they're just getting to America. Wait. They're on the ship, sorry. Oh, I didn't know I could feel this awful. Shoshi held her head in her hands and leaned over the ship's railing. The water below was choppy. They're on this big ship on the middle of the ocean. Now, remember, they're on the ship, but they have to hide the dragon because if anyone finds a dragon on board the ship, they're going to just throw him overboard. You know, they'll be really scared. So Moshi checked on Snigger. The dragon was curled up in a tight ball, his tail wrapped around his body. Look at his wings, Joshi. They're growing so fast. Do you think he'll be able to fly? Fly? Shoshi thought about this. He's so scared of the top bunk that he shivers whenever he's up there. All he wants to do is eat. Last night he gobbled a string of sausages from Mrs. Finkelstein's bag. She screamed so loud, I can't believe you didn't wake up. 2 red spots flared up on Shoshi's pale cheeks. I hate this ship. It's crowded and hot. You can't see anything with that one dim light, and the slop bucket stinks and keeps overflowing. That's the way people sometimes travel to America or Canada when they didn't have a lot of money. They traveled what they called steerage, and they were at the bottom of the ship, and it was smelly and dark and really awful. Maybe Papa died and they threw him overboard. Don't be stupid. Of course Papa got to America. He sent us a letter. Stop talking. We only have 1 hour a day to be on deck. We should use this time for exercise, Mrs. Kaputnik said. Her black skirt swished as her body swayed each time the ship pitched and tossed. Oh, what's that? His scaly green feet stuck out from her beneath Shoshi's skirt. Shoshi, Snigger's out of his basket, Moshi said. Shoshi jumped as Snigger darted through her legs in an attempt to run across the deck. He exhaled a stream of fire. I told you to keep him hidden. Their mother slapped a spark off her skirt. We'll be thrown off the ship into the middle of the ocean. I'm sorry, Mama. It's just that he's getting too big to hide. And if he's frisky, he's a baby and he wants to play. Play, schmay, said Mrs. Kaputnik. Mrs. Finkelstein is telling everyone that a sea monster ate her sausages. Of course, no one believes her, but now they'll see the monster for themselves. Don't worry, Snigger, we'll protect you. Shoshi bent down and patted the animal's head. A pink tongue flicked against her cheek. See, Mama, he's a pet. He's like a kitten. Kittens don't set things on fire when they sneeze, Mrs. Kaputnik said. And they don't grow so fast because the dragon just kept growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger, and it was getting harder and harder for them to hide him. All of a sudden, Mrs. Finkelstein stormed on deck. Her round face was purple with anger and her chest heaved like the ocean waves. There they are, the thieves, the Gonoffs who stole my food. We didn't touch your rotten sausages, Shoshi said. And then Mrs. Finkelstein saw Snigger. She covered her face with her hands. I knew it. An evil spirit is haunting the ship. Yes, it is a Dybbuk. Mrs. Kaputnik put an arm around the terrified woman and pushed her gently away from Snigger's basket. And once a Dybbuk steals your food, it gets a taste for it. Next time it'll come back and eat you. Okay, so what have we been drawing? Let's see, Casey.
Photo.
Can you have me- hold up, whoops.
Yeah.
I think we lost Casey. There she is.
Wow.
Casey, that's amazing. That's so good. Wow.
Oh, so is that your zombie?
That's zombie
That's the house.
witch.
Does your
That's
zombie have a
amazing.
name?
Yeah, and the witch has a name.
Okay, what's the zombie's name and what's the witch's name?
So the witch's name is named Pumpkin. And the zombie's name is gonna be and it's gonna be
Gonna be what? Can't hear you. Okay. Who else has a picture? Yael, can we see your picture?
yeah.
And let's, Casey, that's
Oh, yeah, you
wonderful.
froze.
Now let's see Yael. Can you hold it a little close to the camera? We can't see the whole thing. That is
I think
super.
Yael froze a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, there it is. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So
There's
now,
that green face you told us about.
now I'm just going to draw a vampire and a bat and a bat on a different place because I don't have enough space.
Okay, draw it on another, you have another paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hold it up again so we can get a better look.
Okay.
Now, is that your witch?
So that's the witch and that's
Oh, sorry,
Uh-huh.
Casey. We're just seeing Yael's picture now, hun.
Yeah, wait, we'll come back to you in a minute, Casey. We're gonna see Yael's picture. Yael, hold it steady. Is that your witch? Or zombie? And what, does your witch have a name? That's a wonderful witch. What a great picture.
Anybody else have a character
Eva, did you draw
they'd like to
something?
share?
Let's see. Eva? You don't, that's all right. Anything else you guys want to share? Casey?
here's an echo.
What, any?
We have a bit of an echo. We do have a bit of an echo.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Is it my microphone?
It might be, but you know what? We've actually come to an end because it's probably getting very close to dinner time
Yeah.
for our friends who are still with us. But I want to thank everybody for participating with us, and a big thank you to Rona for sharing how she became an author and her book. Can we all give big claps?
Thank you for coming. This was
So people
really
we can
fun.
see. And guys, we still have two
I was
more.
just
Oh,
gonna
sorry,
say,
Rona.
keep telling, making up stories and have fun with them.
Yeah, and you guys are clearly very creative, so I feel like you have no problem doing that. And we still have two more authors who are joining us. We have 2 more weeks of this. So we've got Kathy Kaser joining us, and then we also have Andrew Larson. So we're going to do a lot more fun and a lot more activities and a lot more story writing. And Erica, we may as well pitch some programs while you and I are here.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. This Sunday, oh, I hope they're not at the same time. Shoot. Beth Tikva's doing a program with Israel Through the Looking Glass. This is for parents, Bobby Zadie's kids. And we are going to be talking about how music has changed throughout time. And we're going to look at fun music videos and see how it impacts how we celebrate Israel. So we've got that coming up, and we also have our kids club coming back. Oh, that's so nice, Yael.
Oh,
We
that's
have kids club
beautiful,
coming
Yael.
back.
That
So
is
you guys can check
really
all
lovely.
those things out. It's on the Beth Tikva website. You guys are such good artists.
Yeah, they really
And
are
we're doing
terrific.
they're amazing. Yeah, so we've got baking with Ellie, we've got music with Tibby, and we've got Mad Science doing Mad Science stuff with us. So check out, we've got all sorts of fun programs for you guys. Erica, pitch your programs.
Yeah, so we have a musical Yom HaAtzmaut, so celebrating Israel's birthday on Sunday at 5:30 with
Oh, they're different
Mark
times.
Weinstein.
Yes.
Oh, good. So
Go to both.
Go to
we go to
both.
both. Yes. And then we also have a couple more Puppet Shabbats coming up. So our next Puppet Shabbat is on April 23rd. And you don't have to only be a member of Beth David to come. So if you're from Beth Tikva, you could come too. That's on our Beth David website. Casey, I hope to see you there. I love seeing your puppet from the past few Puppet Shabbats. So that was great. And then we also have a dance after school exercise program that's starting on Monday, April 12th at 4:30. So again, you don't only have to be a member of Beth David to come to that. So
I
that's
might come to that one.
yeah, I think it'll
Yeah,
be
sounds
fun.
good.
The first week, the theme is Harry Potter. So it will be a Harry Potter themed dance exercise program. So you could find that on at Beth David's website as well.